All right. We were talking about giving tzedakah, and now we're talking about, we developed this, and we're talking about many different things, and now we're going back into this matter after Pesach, and we're going to talk about now giving tzedakah for yeshivot. So in terms of halachot tzedakah, when we says that throughout the halachot tzedakah, we have to give to whoever is closer to me, achicha karov elecha, right? Or et ha'ani imach, right? And whoever is more with you comes first. Also is a person who has a dilemma of which yeshiva should he give first. He should give to yeshiva who is closer to him first. That's very simple. Now there are different types of closeness. There is a personal closeness. There is an ideal closeness, in terms of ideals and, the mahalach of the yeshiva. And of course there is closeness of place, of distance, your town and so on and so forth. So a person that learned in a certain yeshiva, his closeness to that yeshiva is personal. He feels very close to this yeshiva. He himself learned that. So for sure, he should give money to this yeshiva, even as a token of hakarat hatov for what they had done to him, that allowed to give money they allowed him to learn Torah. So therefore, he should give money for that. So the first, let's say you have X amount of money, right? So the first portion should really go to this yeshiva. That should be your number one priority to give the yeshiva, and especially today that there are a lot of people that learn in yeshiva, and a lot of people don't pay even close to a fraction of what it costs to the yeshiva to operate the yeshiva. So you should give them the money. I mean, I think it takes something like $20,000 a person in public school to educate a kid, something around that number. That's not what you pay in yeshiva. I mean, here you guys are lucky, you're going for free. So, the yeshivot always run on a deficit. It's not like in Israel that the yeshivot get stipend from the government. Here the yeshivot are all privately sponsored. So, you have to give morally. You have to give to the yeshiva back what the yeshiva allowed you just to be there. I mean, somebody is paying for this. Not even in money, because I spoke to my friend. I had a friend. He has a yeshiva in Brooklyn. He says to me, he said, the financial burden that he had to take for himself, for just to open the yeshiva, in terms of, he can't do it because otherwise, he could have done something else. He could have worked somewhere else and make a nice salary and so on and so forth. But he felt very motivated to open a yeshiva for guys. And he says, listen, it was a sacrifice that both him and his family had to make in order to make other people learn. And you as a Talmid don't always think about what sacrifice this person had to do, to give, to make, in order to allow me to learn. So morally, you're obligated to give to this place. Morally, you're obligated to give to this place. You have to give it first. A place that gave you Torah, that taught you Torah, that they gave you a place to give you a place to Olam Haba. And by the way, you're not going to find people who are Klei Kodesh, Askanim in the Torah, like Rosh Yeshivas and Rabbeim, that are swimming in dinero and so on and so forth. But I want to tell you something before we go further into that. I want to tell you a story. They said about the Chafetz Chaim when one time he went to give his book to the censor in Europe. Every book had to go to the censorship. So he was waiting there. He saw one guy. He was a Kohen that went off the derech that he knew, and he said to the Chafetz Chaim, "Isn't it sad that you are in the state that you are? living in this shed in Madden, running a grocery store, hardly making a living. Look at me, how nice clothes I wear, how fancy, how good my life is, and fancy, and so on and so forth. But of course, he was working for the censorship. He went off the derech. So the Chafetz Chaim said to him, well, it will be like I'm standing on the roadway and comes a carriage, a very fancy carriage, and it's taking me to Minsk. Minsk is, and he says, come on, go on the carriage. He says, I won't. He says, why? He says, because I'm not going to Minsk. He says, you and I are not going to the same place. You're going to hell, I'm going to heaven. Yet you don't see Rabbeim and Roshei Yeshivas complaining that they don't have a lot. Because if they would complain they don't have a lot, they won't be able to do what they're doing. But that does not mean that you don't have to appreciate their sacrifice to you. And help and support. And it not necessarily has to be financial support. If you don't have, for example, right now you guys are, not working, you're learning in college, you're coming to learn, but there is other support that you can give. That's also part of tzedakah. So you don't just come in, put in your Tosfot and Rashi, your daily Tosfot and Rashi, you go on, Yalla Shalom, I didn't hear from you anymore. You got to do something for it. How are you going to show your appreciation? So here, it's the same thing. You have to it's very appropriate that every Talmid will make a cheshbon for himself. How much money was spent on him while he was in yeshiva? How much does it cost for a person to come in? Let's say, for example, argument's sake, how much would a tutor cost you for, let's say, the years that you were in yeshiva? If you were to have to take a tutor, how much would a tutor cost you today? $50 an hour. How many hours a day have you received? 10 hours a day? 8 hours a day? Make a cheshbon. How many years you learned? How many hours? How many hours extra you work with your Rebbe around the block, solving some insignificant problems that to you were the end of the world? That's kind of, you owe this money. So other people could enjoy what you enjoyed. So other people could receive what you received. Now, try to make an effort to give it back. That's what I'm saying to you. If you come to think about it, they're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars. Thousands and thousands of dollars that you've received. You say, okay, it wasn't tutoring 101, fine, not a problem. Go over there, there's a, after school activity, see how much they pay for an hour, and then you'll see what it is. Go to the Chinese, the Koreans, they pay well. See how much does it cost. You don't come close to it. There's also an ideal closeness. And, of course, because they say Shivim Panim La Torah, but there are 7 million different types of yeshivas, different 7 million different types of mahalachim and so on and so forth. And you might feel close more to this kind of a thing than the other one. Okay? Ideals in terms of that. Let's say one yeshiva is more Musar. Let's say you came from, let's say you came from Panovich, right? And Abdil, you are more Slobodka. You feel, yes, you went to Panovich, but you're feeling more Slobodka. It's kind of impossible, but never mind. So there's closeness as well. I like what they do. Or there is a yeshiva that brings people back or allows guys to go to college. Let's say you went to a black hat, white shirt, black pants kind of a yeshiva. But you feel that there is a great need for yeshiva that allows guys to go to college as well without feeling second class. So you feel close to this ideal. So you're going to give to this yeshiva. And that's an ideal closeness. There are, or let's say you feel close to the concept of an idea of a yeshivat hesder when they go to the army, whatever it is. I'm not saying to you this one is better than the other. What you feel closeness, so you should be able to categorize the closeness I mean, you can go, that's what I keep telling you all the time. You need to be evaluating everything that is happening to you in your life. Categorize in terms of, that's important to me, that's not important to me. This is good, that's close to me, that's not close to me. You need to define it. I'm going to teach you a very big lesson in life. If you don't define what's important to you in your life, if you don't decide what's important for you in your life, somebody else will. Somebody else will. But at that point, you don't live your life anymore. You live somebody else's life, not your life. So there's we call it, there's a shkafa, and then there is the other one, of course, in terms of that, which is a local closeness, right? Let's say, for example, the two yeshivot, they're both close to the other. You know, let's say there is a yeshiva that is very big in Musar in Israel, and there's a very big Musar. Let's leave Israel. Let's say in Brooklyn, there's one in Queens, and you live in Queens. Give to the one in Queens. Give to the one in Queens. Because that's your local yeshiva. In other words, you should support your local yeshiva. And the reason why I put it in that order is in order to simply be able to give you, to be able to make you give more. Because if I'm going to tell you give to a yeshiva that it's in your neighborhood first, and let's say you live in Monroe, and you say, I don't associate with Satmar, you're not going to give. So first go with what you owe to, what you learned. Then give to your ideals, then give locally. And that's why they said today that, even the great Rabbanim in Israel said that today the real me'ulet tzedakah is to give to Mosdot Torah. The Torah is a continuous onslaught daily, against the Torah. Every single day there's something against Judaism and Torah and so on and so forth. In Israel, they, I think, making a mistake for taking money from the government. But, they didn't ask me, and this is my own personal opinion. I think overall Jews in America and all over the world would give money to yeshivot in Israel, and they will be better off. But regardless of that, to give to a yeshiva today is a very noble cause. Whatever it is, whether it's in Israel, whether it's in Milwaukee, whether it's whatever it is, there's a yeshiva. It's very important that we support Torah. If we don't become the pipeline to support Torah, it is going to be on our fault, on our shoulders. We don't have big enough shoulders. Nobody has big enough shoulders to be guilty of such a thing. So Torah is the most important thing. Not building shuls, not building anything. Building Torah. Building Batei Midrash. Supporting. And that could be, let's say there are not enough people in your community to make that. So you arrange Daf Yomi, or you arrange Mishnah Yomi, or whatever it is. You need to arrange something daily. So if that means that you're going to buy pizza and sushi every day for these people, because of that, they'll come to learn. Because of that, it's all because of you. So we need to be as much as there is strengthening the person. We saw when we were talking about poor people, there's also the mental issue of psychological issue of support, giving tzedakah. Here too, we're strengthening the tzad ruchani, the spiritual aspect of Am Yisrael. Without that, we're lost. So today we have to give the Torah, and even more so, the bachurim that learn in yeshiva, they really are considered to be poor. They're not yet financially, on the roll. And I'll tell you even more than that, kolelim. There are guys, I just can't believe how they do it. What dedication to Torah. I salute those guys. Whether it's the Lakewood Kollel, whether it's, Chafetz Chaim Kollel, whatever that, all those guys, whoever that is, that go out there, and they move their families. I call them the Litvaki Lubavitchers, because they landed from the Lubavitch. Okay, no beseder. But to go out there, I know people who are in Santa Fe, in a kollel in Santa Fe, for crying out loud. In Santa Fe, it's a beautiful place, but there's a kollel there. Places that you could never dream of. Did you know that there is a Lakewood Kollel in Berlin? I mean, I would not go to Berlin, but I would not go there. It's better, don't go back to Mitzrayim. Those people are willing to go to Berlin to have a Kollel, to have a Makom Kavua of Torah. The kviyut, the establishment of Torah in one place is Yesod Olam. And those people are doing that. And let me tell you, they how much they suffer, how hard it is, and how hard it is for the Rashi Kollel to go in to collect money for them, so they could eat. I've seen some of these guys, Habibi, their shoes are like, I feel bad. I want to take my shoes off. I want to give them my shoes. I feel so bad. They don't care. They are motivated for Kibush Torah. They're not motivated to go make $1 for themselves, so they could be rich, so they can have this. Hey, they're moving there. So they're poor, and therefore we support them. And also, because some of them are older, and the parents don't have to support them. So if we could, argument's sake, if we could have a program that, argument's sake, every guy in yeshiva after they get married, okay, don't help them much, but no, we'll give them $1,000 a month to learn. It's a tremendous support, like this. If I can increase the amount of people learning in yeshiva, so they could continue learning, so they become more solid b'nei Torah, $1,000 is nothing, but yet it will be a great deal for them. Why won't we do that? Instead of building shuls for $4 million, $5 million, $3 million, why do we need so many mausoleums? What for? Let's all get together to one shul, or we daven a little shtibel, and we make together as a community, we make a big Bet Yaakov. We'll support a big Bet Yaakov, we'll support a big Talmud Torah, where the kids can come and learn. So imagine, let's say argument's sake, let's just count, without mentioning names of communities where we have 1, 2, 3, 4 shuls that they were built, right? So that shul where we used to be cost about $2 million. That $2 million. This one costs $4 million. The other one costs $5 million. Before you turn your head, you have like $10, $12 million. What do you need this for? Take the money, make a fund, and make sure the kids go to learn the yeshiva. Build a yeshiva. We have so many shuls here. So many shuls. Not one yeshiva? This is crazy. Why? Because nobody wants to give them money, so therefore it's our responsibility. I'm not quite sure. We need a bet tefillah. I mean, what are we praying for? We're praying for Kadosh Baruch Hu. Ashivenu avinu letoratecha. Is it Torah? Is it batich? We're not Ashivenu. We don't want to come back to any Torah. We don't want to learn Torah. We're not going to work, make money, so we can go and get on with our lives. Where are you going with your life? You know where you're going with your life? Become maggot food. Where are you going with your life? Invest in your olam haba. So that's also a form of tzedakah. So you need to evaluate. So if you have a way to give and you have money to give, so try to go with this order. Give it to yeshiva. I mean, if you want to give all to one yeshiva, gesundheit, lama lo. You could do so. Lama lo. You can have more power and more influence. We could do. How much those books cost here? Excuse me, I could not buy bought these books by myself. I don't have the money for this. There's like thousands of books here. The people donated, so guys can learn. So now the people donated, you guys can learn. Now you're obligated to learn as well. And that's how we mechazek Torah. That's how we mechazek Torah. By understanding the obligation, the appreciation that other people did to us, and our obligation now, we are the lucky one. That's our job. That's a form of Torah. So when you give money for tzedakah, for yeshiva, and because of that they are learning, you get the zchut for the Torah, and then you b'mezaki other people to learn Torah as well. So Rabotai, take a very good count of yourself and see what you don't be cheap. and support Torah. Ba'asher hu, support Torah. Start locally, Start where you learn. Start somewhere. It doesn't make a difference. But support Torah. And make sure it goes to Torah. And make sure it goes to Torah, not to some, $15,000 full color separation raffle, You know what I'm saying. Bezrat Hashem, next time we're going to start about the chiyuv of Maaseh Ksafim, the obligation of giving money. Have a good day.